Okay, I've been kind of busy doing a lot of the trim work and getting a lot of the pretty much a lot of the different pieces done up, except for like the weapons, some final trim pieces, and of course the back banners. So here on the Raider, you see that I did blighted gold for the trim. Usually for like the trim pieces, I don't do too much highlighting on that because usually it's really small. You can do some highlighting if you want to, kind of similar like we did to fabric, but do it to the gold. I chose not to do it to that. I just kind of like the way the color looks on the models. But I also did the leather straps. You see right in there. Let's get you a little closer here. See right in there. Basically, what I did for that, I did a wash. So what I started out with was jackbone, or is it called jackbone? Yeah, it's called jackbone. As a base coat, I just base coated, all the different little leather pieces, in jackbone, and then gave them leather gloves because I figured, well, why not? And then I used an Army Painter wash or ink called Strong Tone. Right there. It's kind of nice. It's a blackish brownish mix, so it gives you a really dark tone to whatever you put it on. Later on, you'll see like the horn pieces that they have here. I'll do those also in jackbone, but I'll do a soft tone with them, and you'll notice that it's going to, soft tone. It'll come out much lighter. It'll come out a lot more like a bone, like a bone that's been not too aged, but just aged just enough. I did the same thing on Zakar. Get him in there. You can see on like his boots, the top side of his boots there. I actually did that in a bootstrap leather from P3 and used the same strong tone for the wash. Did this little sash piece around the waist there. And I also did his skin. He doesn't have much skin to show, but it's at the bottom of the helmet, top of the arm, anywhere there was skin. I just used the Midland Flesh, and then I used the P3 Flesh Wash to allow it to go into the recesses. It's really hard for me to show it to you here. You can kind of see on the back of the arm there, where it kind of gives the muscle, the wash kind of goes into the recesses, and it's really thin on the raised portion of the muscle, so it allows you to kind of cheat a little bit on the painting, I guess. So for Zadesh here, I have his weapons, the little spiky pieces, the little sharp bits that go around the bottom of his secondary sash, and then the 2 gems that are on him, and then he'll be done. For his weaponry, for the majority of it here, I will be using pig iron, and then I'll wash it with a dark tone, which will be basically like a black ink. And at the ends, right there, the little ends, I will then go over those with similar reds as to what I used for the armor. Use that, and the blighted gold for the trim, and then the hooks will be the metal. And then he'll be done and ready to go on his base. For both both of these two, pretty much I have their weapons, the horns, and the banners, because the banner's still black, to do, and then they'll be ready to go on their bases. For the bases, basically for the bases, you see I base coated, so I base coated in bloodstone, and then I will dry brush a Midland flesh over it to kind of pull out some of the highlight there. And so when it all goes together, it should look very nice. I will be pinning him. I'll actually have to pin all of them because of the way their bases are. But I'll put a pin through the bottom of the foot into the base like that, and the pin will go all the way through to the actual plastic, the bottom of the plastic. I didn't, because I needed to make sure he's securely fastened to the base. I didn't want to just have it to where he's in that top layer of the paper clay, which, although very stiff and very, very supportive, in and out of the bag and everything else makes it a little, a lot of wear and tear on them. So better just to put it all the way through, and better safe than sorry. Worst case scenario, if the paper clay goes away, the metal piece will still hold, him on the base. So yeah, so when I come back, hopefully we'll be to the point of pinning, and I'll show you how that works, and then they'll pretty much be done except for the edges of the base. Alright, thank you. Okay, so we're back. I've got, I'd probably say, majority of the detail work done on the different models. So like Zakar here, he was done enough that I felt I could put him on the base. Finish up his weaponry. You can see the, you can probably like this a little better. Sorry about the tipping there. Try and get it all to where it works out right. Alright. Attach him to the base. And like I said before, when I pinned him to the front foot, and I pinned him all the way through to the base. There's a little pin, I don't know if you can see the pin right there. Right there in the little corner, just like that there. And for pinning, you can use brass rod. P3 actually sells a brass rod, or you can use paper clip. That's one of my favorite things to use. It's small, it's easy to use, easy to find. Just use a standard pin vise. You can get them almost anywhere. I forget where I got this one from. I've had it for quite a few years. Handy tools, not just for putting on bases, but for helping to put together. Like this guy right here, because the way he came, he had this upper arm, and then you had the two hands were attached to the weapon. So for him, what I ended up doing, because it was hard to try to get it to where the shoulder pieces would go in, so I pinned into the middle of the hand, into the middle of the wrist. So there's a pin in there, and there's a pin on the other side, on the other wrist section. I put a pin in both, and didn't glue it. I didn't glue it because I wanted to make sure it could spin and move freely. But once I had those pinned, I used probably about a 1/4 of an inch pin, paper clip piece. Once I had that, it was pivot. I could pivot it, as needed, and I could pivot it to where the shoulder sockets fit in, and that's where I applied glue to the shoulder sockets, worked it, boom, got it in, held it, and then I just dropped a little bit of glue into the wrist section to, not the perfect join, but I doubt there's going to be much wear and tear on the wrist section. And pinning is a very helpful thing. So, as you can tell, the banners still not done. The little horn spiky bits also not done. Good reason for that. It's before, when they were unpainted and the bases weren't done, it just worked out to where doing it this way worked out really great. I could hold it anywhere. I could hold the flag, I could hold the feet, I could hold anywhere I needed to hold to paint other pieces. So now that I've painted 90% of the model, I got just a few minor pieces to go. When I finish painting the model, you normally set it on its back to where, it's setting on something. Well, if I go to paint the banner, I don't want to lay it down on its face or anything else, for potential of something spilling or anything else. So what I'm going to do is, now that everything from the waist down is done and the base is done and ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin him and attach him to the base. That way I have a natural stand to have him stand on, and so that way when I'm painting the other pieces, such as the flag and all the little spiky bits, much like the car, when I'm done the portion, I can put it down like that. And then when I'm painting, I have a nice little handhold I can paint from. Now you may ask, well, why don't you just do that in the beginning? Well, because the basing, I like to have the basing done, completely done, before I attach them. That way it looks, there's no, because there's times we try to get the basing completely done, paint it up just right, but right around the feet, you get right around the feet with the brush, it just doesn't turn out right. And then you have like the overlap between, well, you gotta fix the foot, and then you gotta fix the base, and it just gets to be one of those things where nothing really matches up perfectly right there on the base. Another option to doing this, to attaching it to the base to do the final portion of painting, is to get corks. And you can go out and get corks from anywhere. If you know somebody that drinks wine, that's where I got these. You can put a pin in the foot and just slide it in the cork, and the cork holds it. Gives you a nice little grip, so when you're painting, works out great. And it works out nice because you can set it down, and you just set it down like that, and it, as long as it's not overbalanced, it works out great. You can also use like blue tack to attach it to like a paint lid or something like that. If you if this is your preferred way of painting, if you would prefer to have something to hold on to while you paint them, so you're not touching the model at all, that's an option you have. But now back to these guys. Because they are, like I said, basically done from the waist down, all the rest of the paint that I'm going to have to do is on the upper body. To make it easier on myself, I'm going to pin them to the base. So now it's a matter of figuring out which base works best for who. So you just kind of made it up. Something like this, or maybe something like this. Something that you think gives it a natural looking pose. Normally, I just make up generic bases and then just go from there. Try to mix and match, like for units and whatnot. So for like this guy, this would probably be the pose he has on his base. So to start off, you take the drill bit, find a good solid piece where it's going to go up a ways into the leg, and you just you start drilling your hole. Now me, because I've done this once or twice, and I'm going to openly admit I kind of cheat a little bit when it comes to pinning, I have a cordless drill. So put the bit in the cordless drill, make sure the hole is nice and cleared. This works out really well for the metal models, for having the cordless drill, because using this to spin into a metal model can take some time. Gets very tiresome. Your hand starts to cramp. Not a fun time. And you're getting about 1, maybe 2 models done with that. Cordless drill, perfect. Alright, so now that I have the hole in the foot, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can, put a piece of you can put a piece of blue tack on there and push it down to get a good feel for where the hole goes. You can paint the bottom of the foot, put it down, however you want to do it. Me personally, I am a person, I do the eyeball. So I line it up to where I know I want the model. I tip it back so I can see where the hole is. And I line it up because now I'll know that the hole's going to go right here in front of this little rock. I get my little hole started with the pin vise. And then take the cordless drill. And the reason it took so long is because it went through the hefty chunk. I actually don't mind if it goes through the hefty part. It kind of gives it a little bit extra support. That's a great place to go for a pin, especially if you're working with a metal model. Something like an Archidon, or maybe an Archangel, not an Archangel, a Angelia, something that has, you know, very little contact on the base. And once again, pinning kind of goes to your own personal preference. So for me, I like to take the pin, push it up through the base, and then take my glue, attach a little glue to both feet, because I know one over the hole, one over the foot, kind of right down the foot like that. So you have that. Then you didn't take the pin. And the reason I kind of rubbed the glue over the outside of it was to make sure the glue gets in the hole. Now I'm cheating a little bit more again here. I'm using the pliers to help hold the pin. Once it, you know, that, so I'm using the pliers to hold the pin, so that way I don't mess up the base, mess up the model. And then I just spin it around where I know he's going to be standing. And I push it in like that. Hold it for a couple seconds, you know, so the glue, you know, adheres and sticks. And then come to the underside with your nice little cutters and cut it as flat as possible. I may have to, yeah, I'll have to file that down here. And then if you want to, you can also put a piece of glue there to kind of helps hold the whole thing in. Once I sand it down a little bit to make it flat, it will, I'll put a piece of glue there and it'll be good. So now that I have him attached to his base, like this, I will set him off to the sides where the glue dries, and then once the glue dries, I will do the banner, the base, all the little spiky bits, and then he should be done. Alright, so when we come back. Alright, well, we're back with the final portion that we need to do, which is the vision lines. Most people, you know, if you read the rule book says you can do the vision lines by their shoulders, blah blah blah. I'm a person, I like to make sure that they're painted on so you can see exactly where the front half of the model is. It's kind of hard a little bit with the basing, but I also like to put a little mark on the back to let me know where the back of it is, because you get some of these models that you look at and you're like, could be front, could be back, I don't know what it is. So I usually like to put a little mark on the back, you know, some kind of a shape. So to get these guys going, what I'm going to do, and as you can tell, the basing is done, flag is done, base is completely painted, everything's ready to go. So what I do is I grab my little tool and then slide it into the 40mm base. Take the color of choice, which for me happens to be white, or the Morrow white, and then you just kind of put a line there, a little line there, grab the next one, you rinse and repeat, so you just kind of line it up to wherever you want the lines to be. Sorry, I'm moving a little off here. I'm just trying to make sure I can see it properly to line it up. And then, you know, now that we have the vision lines on, one's a little sloppy. You know, you can go back through, do a much more solid line. And then I'm gonna actually leave this one alone. I'm not gonna put anything on the back side of either one of these guys. Mostly because I'm going to probably put the numbers. So like this would probably be my second raider. This would probably be like the 6th Savage. And so other than the Gladiator that is now a Cannoneer, the battle group is ready to go be sealed. You don't have to seal the models, but it helps preserve the paint. So here you have, that's why you want to seal them, so when you drop them they don't chip. But there you go. Yeah, they're completely done. If I was better at freehand, I could probably do something on their banners, but I'm not very good with freehand. So that's them, and then you have Zakar, who, yeah, there you go. And that's the, like I said, other than the Gladiator, that is the battle group that comes in the battle box. I hope some of this stuff's informative for you guys. If, take something away from it, it's positive. And now off to play a game with them. Thank you.